This is the perfect Anti-Bloon map. If the ability was the only thing that mattered, but unfortunately we live in a reality where that is not the case, and we have to play on this abomination of a map instead. Now let me explain why this shape. It might look similar to a lot of the previous Perfect Tower maps I've done. First things first, I've highlighted some area on this map where I am going to place Anti-Bloon right over here. Now obviously, in this spot, the ability doesn't get the entire track coverage. It probably gets like 2/3 it looks like. But I think that's a sacrifice we have to make in order for its arms, its main attack, to still pack in a decent amount of damage, because unlike the ability, you can actually increase the range of it, the range of the attack. So basically, this precise spot on this map makes it so that with enough range, it probably can attack, I'd say, 80% of the time, while also attacking the balloons on the other side of the map, or rather having its ability hit. And we have this placement here instead of in the middle, because over here, it has a better chance to use up more of its pierce, because all the shots are going, you know, one direction over both lanes, as opposed to this one, where a shot could either go down there or up there. So in other words, basically the longest map ever, except a little bit thinner, and it doesn't stretch as far. Because one thing I could have also done is make this oval shape a little bit thinner, enough so that the ability hits 100%, but once again, I think we have to find a balance between ability damage and main damage, so this is what I personally have settled on. If you've seen previous episodes of Perfect Maps, then the premise is similar. Hard Chimps mode, with a super buff version of that tower. How far can we get? And while we're saving up for the Anti-Bloon, let me just go over some of the important details, in case you don't know. In Map Editor, there are 48 max nodes you can add, meaning these balloons will loop around 23.5 times before exiting. Unsurprisingly, the Discount Village makes a very, very early appearance. We're just gonna do Alchemist. Now, I probably went way too hard into double discount, so in order to survive this round, I have to, I believe, road spike the zebras so that they don't create a Rigger farm. Otherwise, there is probably no way we get out of that round. Yeah, I don't know if the discount save money if I had to waste that much money on spikes, but we'll make sure to get a foam or a super monkey next time they come around. I didn't plan ahead too well, so the super monkey is actually going to be a little bit lower on the sand than I initially thought. But again, it should still have pretty similar coverage. And thanks to the super monkey and foam, we won't have any issues with riggers anymore. So because we have limited money in chimps, what my plan is I want to save money getting the Anti-Bloon. But I think I need at least Tech Tier to save up for the Temple. Temple buff is where I get a nasty 20% discount on every single tower, every single upgrade. I bet I could probably get away with just the Rogue Monkey, but I'm just going to play it safer for this one here. And just get Anti-Bloon at home. Now, this is going to be obviously an absolutely awful spot for the Tech Tier. Mostly because its blast radius is like way tinier than the Anti, so this ability probably gets like 5% of the track. And now let me also use this downtime to show you how far every other previous tower I tested, what round they got to, but again, like, don't take it too seriously because all of the maps that were played on were pretty much different every single time, some of them being less so the map that would get you the highest run possible, and more so the like most satisfying. Because having Glaive Lord's orbitals hit like 100% of the time is nice and all, but it ain't worth sacrificing that much track length. That being said, given the price of this tower, I do expect it to get very, very high. At bare minimum 200, or rather 250 would be the minimum. Oh crap, I also might have made a huge blunder, and I don't have Time Machine. I didn't enable Time Machine for this session, basically a mod that lets you go back in time to a certain round if you mess up, and I just realized that for some reason, my brain stopped working, and I put the temple, eventual temple, in range of the tower I want to buff, which would then sacrifice it. Bad idea, of course. So, this is gonna set us another 10k plus back, but I need to move it lower, so it's only a range of all these here. Friendly reminder, we're looking at 50k of support sacrifice, but I also need to get Ultra Boost, because I did the math many times, and it is cheaper to get before getting Sun Temple, because you can, keep the Ultra Boost stacks even after you sacrifice it away. Very cool. You know what's interesting? The Tech Tier ability actually reaches on the other side, so it's not as small as I thought. That's what she said. That could allow us to squeeze out maybe a couple more rounds if it ended up making a difference. Yeah, see? Got the 3k damage ability off there. Nice. And finally, Ultra Boost, which means we are now $100,000 away to actually getting everything started. Although more like $150,000 away if you want to count the Anti-Bloon. Now, in terms of hero choice, there were several options, but I ultimately decided on, once again, Geraldo. And the reason is simple. His Counterpot gives massive range, and that is better than other hero choices, like, say, Oben. Oben passively buffs, like, the range of all magic monkeys all the time, but Geraldo still gives more range than that. And the Pierce, I don't think is going to be an issue, or rather, the combination of small Pierce and small range that Oben gives is not worth, I don't think, the massive range that Geraldo's Counterpot would give. Another hero, Gwendolyn, gives +1 on her heated up, but I've also decided 1 damage is not worth the, like, lost attacks that the tech tier could have gotten on bads. Another hero, Rosalia, makes Anti-Bloon 30% cheaper, which would actually get things started earlier, but since we're trying to see the further survival, I'm assuming we don't need the discounts. We should still be able to afford Temple and Anti-Bloon cleanly. DETs definitely look scary, but upon quick look there, I don't think they traveled 23.5 loops. This I can count much easier though, for the bads. Loop number 4, yep, since they popped out early, we're still not in too much danger. And so this will be around 132 Temple. Let's get the show on the road. It might actually be a little bit worse, or we might lose a bit of damage in the short term. Oh crap, one because of the count purples. I sold my decamo foam. Okay, I guess we gotta move our Chinook back in range then to pop the purples. But yeah, from here it should be back to triple discounting first and foremost. Since I really only need 1 village under the Super Monkey, I'm actually gonna do the triple discounting just to the right of it. Since we have Chinook, we can just, like, do the most satisfying discount factory ever. AKA, for example, move, say, Alchemist over here, buy the upgrades I need, just to 3 tiers, I guess, to save the most possible, and then simply move it back in range of this guy here. And yeah, from now on, we'll just, like, keep on buying counterpots on this anti here. Definitely not gonna make 60,000. Wow, we actually saved less than I thought. I mean, the math was already obvious, but yeah, we only end up saving 15,000. All this effort for $15,000. The things I will do to save money. So I'd be curious to see if we can hold down the fort for the F-Bat here. Looks like without the ability, we're only doing a peasantly 500 damage per second. I'm gonna try to snipe, like make sure to use all my abilities. I think it worked. We got the 3k off there. In fact, the speed of them is perfect right now so that it comes up every single time it's on the opposite side. Interesting to think about. And there it comes. Let's make sure to time DTs because they're fast. And we are good. Over 20 rounds since Temple to get the Anti-Bloon. That's an indicator of how little money we end up making during these rounds here. But finally, it has been afforded. And now the show can finally begin with the Anti-Bloon with the minimum buffs. Currently holding steady at like 20,000 DPS. How much damage with this ability here? Half a milli. So now with Anti-Bloon, the ability damage is up to 10,400. Don't ask me why it's 400 and not a flat 10k. I actually thought it was a flat 10k, but so this like surprised me. But yeah, don't forget too, every third ability is a crit for 50% extra, so 15.6k. Now let's see if I can try to delay the ability so that it hits both of the bats at the same time. I think only 1 hit there. This is going to be really hard to gauge because, like, again, since the range isn't increased with the range buffs, this indicator right now is completely false. I don't believe this, like, reaches that far out. Okay, actually, I think it does reach further than the ability actually shows, so that's good. Like let's say use the ability now, and I think it did reach the bat there, even though it was, like, all the way on the bottom right side. We'll try again here. Right there, yeah. It actually does reach as far as the range currently indicates. Are there any range buffs I could give, aside from the permanent P-Brew? Honestly, I'm not 100% on what the next best buffing option is. Not that it really matters. Eventually, we get all of them. But right now, I could either choose to make the ability come up faster for Anti with Energizer, and also make Overclock have full uptime, or just go for the DPS buff with Called Arms, or also go for Permanent Brew, because, like, we have such little uptime right now that it might also be worth going that. Decisions. I think I'll ultimately go to Call to Arms, though. Just because, as you see right now, the DPS for 2 targets is 3,000 or so. Or rather, single, divide that by 2 is 1.5. So, given that, like, the arms do 10,000 damage in 7 seconds, as opposed to the cooldown of Anti-Bloon, which is like, or the ability, which is like, what, 40 seconds or so? I think you can do some simple math to see why single target is probably better to buff. So CTA it is. Yeah, now that I think about it, the range for the Anti-Bloon ability is much better than I initially thought, because remember, I tested against DDTs at the beginning, which have a much smaller hitbox than BAD, so at least on this map, I think we've got at least 80% or more BAD coverage. Because it's not 100%, that's why I'm still going to like manually use the Anti-Bloon ability rather than tech botting it, just in case it's better to save or wait a couple seconds for an extra bat to get in range, if you know what I mean. We've got Anti now, by the way, and DPS 70,000, that's crazy, because I need to remind you, we're still not done with the buffs yet, after all the actual, like, pure buffs, like Perma-Brew. You still got, like, Super Brittle and Crib Mob to go, which can add even more. Say, does it look like we're Pierce capping it all? Because if we are, that would also be some merit to go for an Abyssal Warrior or Monkey. I'm looking at it, though, and it's kind of hard. I think I will get that, but that's, like, low priority, of course. Okay, I gave in and tech botted the Anti-Bloon, because I guess I'm not in any danger right now. We'll probably untech bot it for when the rounds get really, really hard, but since we've been slowly adding power pretty much every single time we bought a big upgrade, I think the Bloons have just not been able to keep up with that, but soon we're gonna run out of, like, buffs to give, because, again, we are pretty much done after the Perma-Brew here. I also accidentally left it in range too long, so, Geraldo also got the Perma-Brew. He's the only one, though, so all good, and we can just move him off to the side. One more thing I gotta do, double overclock. As you see, Anti-Bloon only has 90% uptime, even with Energizer. We must fulfill that missing 10% downtime of missing attack speed. And of course, Mermonkey time, there we go. Currently 11 icons, any more I can add? Yeah, I could do like a Jerry Fire just for the fun of it to make it 12. Additionally, a Jar Pickle, but that would actually nerf the damage, obviously, because you lose a bunch of attack speed for, what, 1 damage? Totally worth it. This is obviously far from the most amount of icons you could get, like, on any tower. People have done, like, competitions, and I think it's, like, more than double, like 28 or so. I could be wrong. But for the purposes of Chimps and Anti here, I think that's probably about as high as we're going to be able to get. Now, let's triple discount a Super Brittle. I guess the best spot for the Super Brittle would just be straight up in the middle. I was contemplating maybe putting it in a curve, but honestly, difference is probably negligible. We will at least put in Brittlements everywhere we can, though. Like here's good, for example. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Oh, yeah, who could forget? I should permanent brew them, too, for extra range. That might make them a little bit more reliable. And now, for the first time in a while, we're going to do a measure of how long it will take to beat round 200 here. So, we've got almost 10,000 single target damage, and that's not even adding the fact that we are still missing Crow Moab, and I just used the ability at the very tail end, so that's nice. It still hits bats even hitting the corner, which was not my intention for that, but that's good, because that's way more than 80%. Like, I'd say 90% coverage, yeah? Anyway, that's 2 loops, 3 out of 23.5. Oh, I don't know if that hit there. I wasn't paying attention. 4 loops, wow. Not even close, yeah, I'm telling ya. So we got 250 in the bag easily. This one did take a little bit more than 4.5 though, I think like 6. But do the math, and it means we still got a long way to go. 1.5 billion pops later, we finally reached 250 with... Looks like with all the damage plus combined, we've got like a crazy amount of DPS being pumped out, like almost 200,000. And given that I actually do think the bolts are getting pierce capped, I guess I might as well go for Lord of the Abyss. Sure, just for even more pierce. But once again, that's it. If I was keeping track properly, this is currently 8 out of 23.5 rotations on these 2 F-bats here. 9, 10, 11, 12, that's halfway. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna see 300 this rate because, friendly reminder, Bloons get a massive HP scaling buff after 250. Also, there's still one more bat here. I guess this one is probably gonna reach 2/3 or further through the track. And that's much further than 2/3, actually, like 3/4 if not more. Oh, luckily the Crow Mopstone came in clutch, but yeah. Honestly, you know what, I might squeeze out more rounds? How about last and strong? Because the last Bloon, at least this round, is an F-bad. And since these are always the ones lagging behind, it might be worth it just to focus on that. Although this does come at a cost of, like, since this thing targets strong, which is usually first as well, then some of those bolts might not be getting the +5, if that makes any sense. I do think it's worth it, though. all that yapping and I lost count, but I am guessing about halfway now. 18 loops, 19. Uh-oh. 20. 21. Oh, no. That's the end. DDT's got us. I'll still do one more attempt, though, just in case. Just in case, you know, the last strong targeting, like, was actually bad. Maybe one last try for a strong. But it is looking like a GG. And fine, I guess I will untech bot it, just in case we're missing damage. But the thing is, even if I time it perfectly, 4 loops, by the way, time perfectly for the F-beds to the back, that means there's a chance I still might miss some of the F-beds over here, because they're basically opposite each other. What I'm saying is that I might as well just keep spamming it, because it'll just take longer to get the next one up again. If I happen to miss it. 6. See here? 7. I am gonna wait a little bit to use it, so it reaches there. 17. Yeah, there's still so much HP left. I don't think it's gonna happen here, y'all. It's close, but we're gonna run out of time. Once again, if not bad, then the insides of it. GG. A very valiant effort by the Anti-Bloon, just ending short of 2 billion pops. What other towers on their perfect maps would you like to see next? Let me know down below.